Hey guys, it's Shimshin. Welcome to my channel. So it is high time to remake this ultimate guide to loot farming because a lot of relevant things have changed in the game, and also my own knowledge and skill and optimizations have vastly improved. Let's go into a basic timeline. I'm not going to make mine detailed like Orath does. Because I will be using chapters. So if you want a detailed timeline, just use the chapters feature. But I will likewise be dividing this video into three parts. Part 1, basics. Part 2, optimizations. And then part 3, instead of customizations in general, I'll just be doing a little bonus part, a shorter bonus part, discussing the farming build that I'm using, which is just a tweak version of one of Zonshini's builds, since Zonshini seems to no longer be active with Diablo Immortal YouTubing. Let's get right into part 1 then. Part 1, basics. So what is farming? Farming is any repetitive activity that is focused on gaining rewards, loot, and then it has a high overlap with grinding, which is any repetitive activity that's focused on gaining experience. And Mao actually has a great recent video where he has compared all or most of the farming / grinding modes in the game and compared them in both metrics. So I will provide a link to that video in the description. I'll still be focusing on loot farming for this video. One, because it's still one of the best farming methods and most efficient. And secondly, because it has a high degree of overlap with many, if not most of the other farming methods available in the game. Now, how to loot farm, basically do what I'm doing here, which is the basic premise of loot farming is to pick one area where you can go run around in a loop like this and just just keep killing monsters, and then by the time that you circle back around, the idea is that the monsters will have all respawned by then. And also you don't have to stop to pick up any loot, because one advantage of loot farming is that any loot that you leave behind on one lap, you can pick up on future laps. And plus, now your familiars, they've made your familiars to be pretty good at picking up loot in the first place. And then any loot that you don't get that's really important, will be mailed to you. And that would be any legendary items, any runes, any normal gems, and any dust from quests. Okay, so you absolutely don't need to stop for anything, really. Just keep going in the same loop in the same direction. Well, you just need to stop for turning in bestiary entries still, but that's really the only thing. Now, the advantages of farming in a 4-person party, basically, the main advantage is that you can get normal gems, and there are a certain number of normal gems you can get each day. Unfortunately, as of tracking this, as of recording this video, they still don't track the number of daily normal gems from 4-person parties you can get. But this is definitely one of the activities that you can do that will get you normal gems in a 4-person party. And of course, people can also help you kill faster, but if you are running a properly optimized farming build, that shouldn't even be necessary. First of all, don't bother with the 4-person chests. Okay, so I see a lot of times people posting in world chat, looking for more people to help me open this chest. I mean, just look at all the loot that I'm getting here, and think about all the loot that you're missing out on in the time that you're, you know, spending waiting for a four-person party for those chests. I would say even if you are in a four-person party, they're only really worth getting if everybody's active and can, you know, stop to open the chest quickly and then get right back to farming. Okay, and then another efficiency tip I have, I haven't even seen other people mention, is to time the pickup of these orbs, especially the energy orbs. You see, I stagger my skills, but if I got a lot of cooldowns still available on my skills, and I get an energy orb, for example, and I don't pick it up right away, I'll save it for a future lap. Now, let me talk about kill streaks. So this is one of the things that I got wrong in my original farming guide. There are a few different categories of kill streaks, which they call massacres here, and they're different categories that end at 100 at maximum. And so basically, when your massacre ends, when your kill streak ends, it will give you some amount of bonus experience based on the level of massacre that you hit, and that will scale really well until you get to the highest level of massacre at 100 or more, and then it will only scale, you know, proportionally to the number of monsters that you've killed. So the conclusion is that in order to maximize your experience per hour, you don't have to end your kill streaks early or anything. You just make sure that you get kill streaks of at least 100, and then it doesn't matter if you get kill streaks of 100 or 1,000 or 2,000. You know, that's just for show, really. Now I want to talk about etiquette and efficiency, and those go hand in hand. Basically, you know, everything that's seen as poor etiquette in terms of farming is something that reduces the efficiency of farming for the other person, and actually, ironically, it tends to reduce the efficiency for the person showing the bad etiquette too. So you should be aware of some of those things. One is, the most important is, if you're in the same area with other people that are farming, join the same frickin' party or get the hell out. Okay, so if they're in a full party, definitely get the hell out. Otherwise, try to join or invite. And you know, if they're not accepting your invite, or if it's full, it's just, you know, both parties being farming in the same area, you won't be sharing any of the same loot. So it's really bad. Now, it's not quite as bad, but it's still bad if you're in the same party and you're no, like, one person's loot farming and then other people are going in random directions and not staying up. It'll, you know, as I mentioned earlier, it'll mess up kill streaks and reduce the efficiency of loot and you know, monster respawn, so loot and experience per hour. So really, whether you're AFK or actively following, make sure you just keep up and in the same party, or else get out. And I've heard the excuse that, oh, I was just doing bounties. Well, let me tell you, the most extreme example of this is when I was doing the same loop, and literally lapped the guy 3 times, and each time I invited him to a party, and each time he declined, until he finally decided to you know, vent in world chat about me. And now think about how quickly he would have gotten those bounties done if he had simply accepted my party invite, and I would have just helped kill the monsters from him by continuing to do what I was doing, and he would not have interfered with my farming either nearly as much as he did by not being in the same party. So yeah, even if you're just doing bounties, and by the way, I would recommend doing Hellslayer bounties over normal bounties now. but those do require running your tear riffs. But yeah, if you, for whatever reason, are still doing normal bounties, even then, it's no matter how long or short you're going to be in the same area with other people farming, either join the same party if you can, or get out, or do your bounties as quickly as possible if you're in the same area with a full party. And yeah, that's farming etiquette there. If you follow the tips in the basics part one, and you're not moving or killing as fast as I am, these tips should help you. So, first tip that I have is I want to summarize the key takeaways from my video on movement speed, and I'll put a link to that in the description. One key takeaway is that movement speed buffs do not stack, and in the video I go into detail differentiating sources of passive sources of movement speed from active buffs. And the passive movement speed caps at 20%. Okay, and your total movement speed caps at 70%. That includes buffs. So here, basically, if you have one movement speed buff with 100% 100% uptime, you do not need any others. They will be wasted. So the one I'm using is from my chest essence, Ease and Clarity, and it is that gaining shield of Zen increases the movement speed of you and your allies by 40% for 4 seconds, which can be extended by beneficial effects duration. And so here I am moving without it. Now I activate the skill, and here you can see how much faster I'm moving. You go to the character sheet. I'm now at 20 plus 40 is 60. And so in order to hit the hard cap of 70%, you need to be playing a class that has access to a movement speed buff of 50% or more. Anyway, that's one key takeaway, and definitely watch the video if you want details. One source of movement speed that was not available when I recorded the video was runes. Okay, and other than that, nothing's really significant has changed, except there's no longer negative curse properties, which means there's no decreases to size. So the other key takeaway from the video is that size increases movement speed. It acts as an independent movement speed multiplier. So there are two sources of size. One is if you go to the menu, choose Warband, choose Room Management, and then tap or click on the room you're in, and you see Training Room. Then where it says Base Bonus, tap or click on the icon to change it, and select one of these under Role Selection. Select one of the Protector ones. I chose the Block Chance. Either one will give you the important part, which is under Remnant Bonus. Make sure that you have Shepherd's Burden, which increases your size by 15%. If you don't have it, check under Room Management, Manage Remnants. See if it's anywhere among the available sets. If it is, but it's not under the Equip set for Protector, you see you can equip a different set for each role. If it's not, if you see it under Available Remnants but not under the Equip set for Protector, then ask your Warband leader to select the one that does have it for Protector. If you don't see it anywhere, you need to farm Purge the Depths until you get it, because that's one of the most impactful remnants that you could possibly get. Okay, and the other source of size is in Paragon. If you go to Menu, Paragon, and it's under Brawler, which specifically the right-hand side, which used to be Warden, and specifically Rugged, that increases your size and maximum life by 5%, and Combat Expertise, among other things, the effects of Rugged increase to 8%. So 15 plus 8 is 23% increased size. That multiplies with your movement speed so that you move significantly faster at base. That brings me to Paragon Options. This is the one that I'd recommend personally. prioritizing movement speed is the right side of Brawler. If you are under max for your blacksmith gear upgrades, so as of recording this, that would be 30 on these legendary pieces, then there is a case to be made for choosing Vanquisher instead, and in particular these skills at the top, which used to be Treasure Hunter. However, keep in mind that the large bonuses on these skills sound bigger than they actually are, because most of them only apply to elite monsters. So you have to consider what percentage of the total monsters you're facing are actually elites. Okay, but if you were to choose this for maximizing your salvage material to upgrade your blacksmith to gear ranks, I would maybe drop one of these like the Lucky and choose Delaying the Inevitable, which causes picking up items to refresh the kill streak duration. Do not choose Boundless Strides if you have any other movement speed buff. As I say, this is one of the buffs that does not stack with others. Okay? And then the third option, if you want to prioritize damage, I would actually look at Harbinger, and in particular Savage Urge. The critical hit chance increases by 10% of your movement speed, and then Fatal Urge, the critical hit chance bonuses from Savage Urge increase from 10 to 20% of your movement speed. So if you are if you're one of the classes that can cap out at 70%, you got 100% uptime on 70% movement speed, then that would give you 14% crit chance from these two skills, which is nothing to sneeze at. And by the way, I would not currently choose any of these legendary skills. In my opinion, they're too expensive. You lose too many attributes by choosing one, and I will comment if and when I feel that calculus for that has changed. Okay, so that is Paragon Options. Next topic, familiars. The most important thing, I'm not going to make a full familiars guide here. It's the most complicated in-game system. But go to your menu here, go to familiars, and the most important thing for farming, especially open world farming, is a pet with this utility trait. Salvager allows remote salvaging. With this, you can literally salvage without breaking your kill streak. And my tip for that is actually to get in between two packs of monsters so that they see you and start walking towards you. Then you go to your inventory and quickly choose salvage equipment from there. And if you do that well, you can actually salvage without breaking your kill streak, which is amazing. I see so many people still going to town to salvage. You should only go to town to turn in your bestiary orbs when you got 10, because after that you can't gain any more. So the quickest method without a familiar with Salvager would be if you go again to the main menu and Warband and go to Sirengar. And then when you exit with the button to the left of your minimap, it'll take you right back to where you were. But that's still nowhere near as good as being able to salvage without literally breaking your kill streak. Now, how do you get one of these familiars? You go again to the familiars interface, you go to the info button at the top left, you look at ordinary conversion. It says the new familiar has a 10% chance to acquire one of the utility traits with equal probability. So if you go to familiar details, choose all familiars to ordinary familiars. Definitely any gray or blue are good fodder for conversions. And then as far as the yellow ones, I would look at the traits and make sure that they didn't have good traits that I wanted to keep that were active based on the attributes that are 120 or above, and any also ones with exceptionally high attributes like 170 plus. You want to save these and use them this is a hidden legendary familiar. That's a whole other topic. So pay attention when you're making conversions like that, to not use any particularly good familiars. And if you're doing this, if you again go to familiars info, ordinary conversion, and read this, that the skill quality of the new familiar is influenced by the contributing familiar with the highest skill qualities of the three. So I see some people, converting with 3 good familiars, hoping it's going to increase their odds. It's not. And when you're converting just for utility traits, then especially if you're wanting to sell spare utility familiars to friends or clanmates, definitely do not, don't even use any with a high number of, rare skills, because it's just going to jack up the price. And as far as acquiring one, other ways, if you go to the market, you can look under familiars, but any cheap familiar with the utility trait is going to sell fast. So I would recommend just asking your clanmates and friends. If you get a spare utility, if you have or acquire a spare utility familiar for cheap, please let me know to buy it from you, because I sold one literally for 515 platinum to a clanmate. So this is completely free to play friendly. You just need to know the right people or get lucky with conversion. Okay, another good thing to have in a familiar for a PvE familiar in general, different from a PvP familiar where you want to focus on things like having a savior skill, okay? I recommend having one PvP familiar and one PvE familiar, and switching them based on your content. But anyway, for your PvE familiar, ideally it should be a Skitter, Right, or Brute Talent with lingering wounds. The enemies affected by abnormal status that support Chinese translation for damage over time effects from the familiar's active skill take more damage for 3 seconds. And Brood Talon and Skitter White both have active abilities that do have continuous damage effects, and they also will refresh the duration of lingering wounds every time the enemy stays in there and takes another tick of the ability. So this will last for the whole duration of the active skill plus 3 seconds, or let me know if you know if it's extended by beneficial effects duration. But yeah, at least 3 seconds after that. And Orath recommends also not getting one with the skill that reduces the cooldown of the familiar's active skill, because it makes it not sync up so well with other cooldowns. But that's more of a concern for dungeons, to have the all your cooldowns ready for the boss, not as impactful in open world farming. Now there are 4 magic attributes that I would recommend that are just good all around to stack, which are beneficial effects duration, cooldown reduction, crit chance, and crit damage. And you can get those on different slots for gear. So now Mao has a great video on beneficial effects duration and cooldown reduction, which I will link in the description. And but some key sources of beneficial effects duration would be 2-piece Vithus, extends the duration of beneficial effects by 30%. Then also certain slots, as I mentioned, in this case, your chest, pants, and your belts and boots can all roll beneficial effects duration. And Orath considered this, well, this was before Eternal affixes came out. Some of them can be quite good for particular builds and classes and activities, but definitely considered a beneficial effect duration the best general magic attribute that you could roll in this slot. And you can actually get 75%, but only on non-exceptional items. If it's an exceptional item, the highest is 6%. So he actually considered this, best in slot to get a non-exceptional with 7.5% beneficial effects duration in one of these slots. Again, with the caveat, this is before Eternal Attributes affixes came out that could be really good depending on your build and class. Now, another good source of beneficial effects duration is a Reforges. So definitely get the beneficial effects duration on all slots. Whatever else you get, I'm in mid-transition from barrier and other things that are more PvP focused to Wildfire, which is more PvE focused. And that actually leads me right into another good attribute, which is critical hit chance and damage. Well, first let me tell you good sources of skill cooldown reduction. That is the neck, gloves, and rings. And if you're capped, like I am with the passive movement speed at 20%, I could, for example, probably benefit from changing at least one of these items to cooldown reduction instead. But you should keep in mind there's also a cap for cooldown reduction per skill. So mine is 8.5% in this build. That's from the gloves plus Bottled Hope. So if you go over to the Master Jeweler here in Westmarch, you can go to Gem Resonance, and this is the most convenient way to look at all of your awakened bonuses. Okay, which is one of the highest priority things I'd recommend to anybody, to get all your slots awakened ASAP. And now you can do this, the NPC right next to Charcy. You just go to this guy here and choose Reforged Stones for some reason. Dawning Echo is 10,000 plat. You don't have to spend 1,000 orbs now. You can get it with 10,000 plat. It is more bang for your buck than you can get for spending the same amount of plat towards, gaining resonance or pretty much anything else. So I used to be 5,000 plus resonance. I've had these wings for a long time, but now you can see I'm running at 4.1k resonance, and I'm performing a lot better. And part of the reason is that I prioritize these gems with good effects of different star counts and awakening all my slots. And so when you look at the awakenings from Vic here, you'll see three sources of cooldown reduction potentially on gear. One is the essence itself. Some of them give cooldown reduction on a skill for the main effect. Then you have the effect of essence mastery that could apply in some cases, so with some essences. And then also the awakened bonuses of certain essences can reduce the cooldown. So let's take Shield of Zen as an example. I've got 8.5% general cooldown reduction, and we see that in just the awakenings I've got 10% here, and I've got another 10% there. That takes me to 28.5%. And then, with Essence Mastery, even on just one of these, it takes me above the cap of 30% cooldown reduction on that skill. It doesn't take me too far above the cap, so it's pretty efficient. But you see that I've got 100% uptime on all my buffs in this build, which is definitely one of the main things that you want in a farming build, because you want to go for consistency. Okay, and all right, let's see what else. So for crit chance and crit damage, you can get that on your helm, your shoulders, and all your weapons. And you can actually get both in one, which is the ideal combo, but if you have to choose one, crit chance is higher priority than crit damage. But in combination, they are really good. So just check your crit chance and crit damage. And another way to increase the crit damage is with Reforges. as I say, I'm in process of switching to wildfire, so I could pump that crit damage up quite a lot, and you can get beneficial effects duration and or cooldown reduction from either rare or legendary runes and head or shoulders, and you can get crit damage and crit chance from the legendary runes. So yeah, you can really pump these pretty high these days. So what I would recommend is the first type of legendary gem you should go for are the ones that give you a damage buff, a flat damage buff. For among 1 stars, you've got Berserker's Eye. Among 2 stars, you've got let's see, Pain Clasp would be the best one. Of course, make sure to pair it with at least one reliable damage over time effect. I'll get to that. And among 5 stars, you've got Blood-Soaked Jade is the best one, and then Bottled Hope is also good to give you flat damage buff, as long as you're using, at least one buff skill. And so then another good general type of effect for gems would be crit chance. So you can get that from Mother's Lament and from Roiling Consequence. And another good type of effect for farming in particular is damage over time effects. So among 1 stars, you've got Everlasting Torment, which is based on crit chance, yet another reason to stack crit chance. Then among 2 stars, you've got Viper's Bite. Want to work on Viper's Bite and Pain Clasp next as 2-star gems. And then for 5 stars, you've got Seeping Bile, which has a low activation chance, but it spreads when the enemy dies, which is good for farming. And you've also got Roiling Consequence doubles as crit chance and damage over time. Lastly, type of gems that are particularly good for farming are Orath calls them dot applicators. And the best one overall would be Void Spark. You could see that I currently have it as an auxiliary into my highest reso from when I was prioritizing reso incorrectly over gem effects. And even at rank 1, it helps spread your damage over time effects to the whole pack. The reason you want damage over time effects is in case you don't kill them all at first. As long as they die, eventually you can just keep moving. And now other good, more specialized dot applicator gems include Volatility Shard and Igneous Scorn. And you can see that I'm saving duplicates for a lot of 2-star gems and 5 stars. I've got several 5 stars dormant at any given time. So I'm going for versatility here to give me, the most optimized performance for each type of content. But I would I would do things in that order of priority. Start with damage buff and crit chance gems, which are good all around, and then go for, damage over time, and then finally dot applicator gems, which are particularly good for farming. If you're struggling and dying a lot, if the monsters are like orange or red, it's because your combat rating is below the recommended for your difficulty, which you can select by tapping or clicking on the mini-map. Okay, and by the way, I haven't touched a thing since I hit 400. I wanted to make this video before I even equipped any gear or demonic remains from Inferno 2. So all of these attributes that you see are just as they were when I was pre-farming for Inferno 2. And so the combat rating here, you can, if you mouse or tap on it, you can see that if it's above the recommended, it'll tell you the effects increasing all damage you deal by a certain percentage and decreasing all damage you take by a certain percent. And this is the maximum those values can be, 11% damage increase and 10% damage reduction. Any combat rating over those values, once you've hit those values, does absolutely nothing. So once you're capped for combat rating, uh, for the activities that you're most often doing, open world and dungeons maybe, then just save a maximum combat rating set of gear on the side for pushing high challenge rifts or raids or things where you're actually below combat rating. And in all other situations, prioritize the magic attributes that I've mentioned. And another thing that's not as impactful as most players make it out to be are the primary attributes. You should only look at those as icing on the cake, or to decide, between two that have similar magic attributes. It should be definitely a secondary concern. Secondary attributes should be more of a primary concern, in my opinion, especially for PvP, but also for PvE. Make sure that your first goal should be to, when you mouse over or tap on these, they should all be giving you bonuses. They should all say they're higher than expected and giving you bonuses instead of negatives. And then after that, you want to prioritize armor penetration for PvE especially, and these have diminishing returns. I think the highest critical hit damage you can get from stacking armor penetration is 57%, but the diminishing returns start getting pretty heavy beyond 50%, really heavy beyond 55%. So I would not prioritize it after that point. And then potency certainly helps your damage over time effects. It increases the durations of all harmful effects against your enemy. So, yeah, those are good to focus on. And then good sources of them, do your even FOD Sanctum every day. And also cap your normal gems. You have both daily and weekly caps. Daily, I mentioned you can cap those every day by open world farming, among other things. And the weekly caps are finally tracked here under Abyssal Verge and Erebin, which are alternatives to layers. And it says here you've obtained 27 bound normal gems from these activities this week, and 27 unbound, and these will, be checked. They'll have check marks once you've hit the cap. So definitely make sure to do that. Prioritize those in your daily and weekly activities over even farming, because farming gives you mostly temporary power in the form of gear, and it's certainly good to do, but first prioritize your permanent power, like your normal gems. One more element of optimization is the curse properties.
What do you need, friend?
So right now I'm using, I'm using 6 Vexed and 2 Lashed. The 6 Vexed is actually for my dungeon build, which I plan to release a video for soon. And then the Lashed is just good in general. And to be honest, I wouldn't focus your curse properties on a farming build, but Lashed does happen to be good for this particular farming build. In any that relies on primary attacks, really, that's more. I would recommend focusing your curses more on either PvP or other types of PvE that are more demanding than farming, depending on your focus. Now, I just want to quickly, as a bonus, briefly go over my monk build, because I think that there's a lack of monk content on YouTube these days, especially for PvE. And so basically it is heavily based on Zanshini's farming build. So I will link that in the descriptions. Okay, so I'm using the same sets for Gloom Guide, 2 Banquet, 2 Vithus, and I'm using most of the same essences. So that would be basically everything except the head and shoulders. So Easing Clarity Chest, Branding Bond Pants, Califaction, and Order Without Sin main hands, Obstruction of Omniscience, and Twitching Palm offhands. And I won't go into why I'm using each one of those. I'll let you watch Zoncini's video if you want more detail on that. And yeah, I wouldn't really feel the need to do this except because he's my favorite monk YouTuber, but he's gone inactive of Diablo Immortal and switched to a different game, it seems. So the thing is, his that farming build is still really good, but I make a couple of tweaks here. First of all, instead of he uses the duration helmet for Shield of Zen, but you notice that I don't need it. So if you need it, use it. Okay, because that is an important skill to have 100% uptime on. But if you have 100% uptime without it, which you should if you properly stack beneficial effects, duration, cooldown reduction, like I've outlined earlier in the video, then you should actually choose a different helm. I chose this one here, Blind Focus, which gives me a damage buff. Exploding Palm now also increases your damage by 19% for 4 seconds. It can be extended by beneficial effects duration, and the Awakening bonus decreases the cooldown of my Exploding Palm. And for the shoulders, I'm using Sonorous Prayer instead of what's the one called that he uses? It was so famous, Shimmerlin. Okay, Sonorous. The reason why is I just prefer things that do continuous damage, passive continuous damage, especially when farming. So this one, Wave of Light, now attaches bells to you and nearby allies that continuously resound with bursts of light, bursts of damage, and the Awakening increases the damage, as well as the Essence Mastery also increases the damage. This I prefer it even when solo farming, but I really prefer it when group farming, because then I can cause other people in my party to, passively help kill enemies behind me. So that's why I make those 2 tweaks. And other than that, just follow the link in the description if you want to see the build more in detail. Thank you for watching, and I hope this video helped you. And if it did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.